Private Sam Carter stepped off the transport ship, the metallic ramp lowering with a soft hiss as the doors slid open. He squinted into the bright alien sun, the harsh glare of an unfamiliar sky making him momentarily blink. The city before him stretched far into the horizon, towering buildings with sleek, sharp edges and glowing signs in languages he couldn't understand. He had arrived on Zarvok, the capital planet of the Zarvok Empire, and already he could feel the weight of the alien gazes upon him. The aliens were watching him, some with curious stares, others with snickers, and many with laughter. They had never expected a human to be standing in their midst, let alone a soldier. The Zarvok Empire, proud and powerful, had ruled over much of the galaxy for centuries. Humans to them were nothing more than an afterthought, a weak species that had no business challenging their reign. And here Sam was, a single human among thousands of alien soldiers. Sent as the first representative of Earth, a group of Zarvok soldiers, wearing their gleaming armor, stood nearby. Their conversation was loud enough for Sam to hear. "Who's here to conquer us?" one of them mocked, laughing with the others. "A human soldier? Really? They must be joking?" Sam felt his jaw tighten. The soldiers didn't know what was coming. He knew they thought they were invincible, but they were about to learn the truth. He wasn't here just to survive. He was here to change everything. As he walked past the alien soldiers, one of them, a tall, green-skinned alien with sharp teeth and an intimidating presence, stepped in front of him. He looked down at Sam and smirked, his yellow eyes gleaming with amusement. "Tell me, human," the alien said in a deep, rumbling voice, "what makes you think you can stand against the might of the Zarvok Empire?" "You should be trembling in fear," Sam met the alien's gaze without flinching. He didn't have to say anything. His calm, steady presence spoke volumes. The alien took a step back, but the sneer didn't leave his face. "Don't make us laugh. The Empire will crush your Earth without breaking a sweat," the alien added, his tone dripping with arrogance. Sam said nothing. He didn't need to. His mission wasn't about bravado or bold speeches. It was about something far more important. He had come to Zarvok for a reason much bigger than the arrogance of these soldiers. He continued walking, not even bothering to glance back. They had no idea who they were mocking. The military transport vehicle that had carried him till the planet was now unloading crates of supplies and equipment. Sam was led to a nearby building, its walls towering above him like a fortress. The air was thick with the scent of alien metals, and the ground beneath his feet was hard and unforgiving. The alien soldiers still watched, their laughter still echoing in the distance, but Sam was focused. His mind was set on the task ahead. Inside the building, Sam was greeted by a tall officer, another Zarvok. This one more serious in his expression. His uniform was decorated with medals, marking his high rank in the Empire's military. "So, you're the famous human soldier," the officer said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Tell me, what are you hoping to accomplish here? Do you think you can change anything? The Zarvok Empire has been undefeated for thousands of years? Or just another small, insignificant species that we will crush like the rest?" Sam didn't respond to the officer's taunts. Instead, he observed the building's interior, his eyes scanning every corner, taking in every detail. He knew he had to be careful. The Zarvok weren't just strong, they were clever. They wouldn't make mistakes. He would need to outsmart them if he wanted to succeed. The officer motioned for Sam to follow him through a narrow hallway. As they walked, Sam couldn't help but notice the sharp contrast between the grandeur of the city outside and the cold, clinical atmosphere inside. The walls were lined with advanced technology, holograms flickering as alien language filled the air. The whole place had an intimidating feel, but Sam had seen worse. They reached a door at the end of the hallway. The officer swiped his hand across a glowing panel, and the door slid open with a quiet hum. Inside was a large interrogation room, stark and empty, except for a single chair in the center. The officer gestured for Sam to sit. "Take a seat," the officer commanded. "I'll make sure you're comfortable. For now." Sam took a deep breath and sat down, his posture straight and calm. The officer stood in front of him, crossing his arms over his chest. "Do you think you stand a chance against us?" the officer asked again, his eyes narrowing. "Tell me, what does Earth have that we should fear?" Sam smiled slightly, but there was no amusement in his eyes. "You'll see," he said softly. The officer's lips curled into a sneer, and he turned to leave. The door slid shut behind him with a final, echoing click. Sam remained still, his eyes fixed on the walls around him. He could hear the faint hum of machinery in the distance. His mind was already working, already planning. He had studied the Zarvak Empire for years. He knew their strengths, their weaknesses, and now, as he sat in this interrogation room, he understood something the Zarvak didn't. They had underestimated humans. It wasn't just about the strength of Earth's military. It wasn't just about the soldiers. It was about something deeper. Something that the Zarvak couldn't understand. Humans had a resilience, a drive that no alien force could ever match. As he sat there, waiting for what would come next, Sam felt the first real stirrings of hope. He wasn't just here to survive. He was here to win. The mocking laughter of the alien soldiers still echoed in his mind. But Sam knew something they didn't. The moment of their arrogance would be their downfall, and when the time came, they would wish they had never laughed at the human soldier. Sam Carter sat quietly in the interrogation room. The door closed behind him. He had no idea how long it had been since the Zarvak officer left, but it didn't matter. Time was irrelevant to him now. What mattered was the mission. He had been trained for situations like this. He had been trained to think, to analyze, and to wait for the right moment. The Zarvak were arrogant, but they would soon realize their mistake. The room was cold and sterile, with metal walls that reflected the dull lights above. There were no windows, no way to see outside, but Sam didn't need to. His mind was focused on the task ahead. He wasn't just a soldier. It was part of a plan that would change everything. He thought back to the moment when he first learned about the Zarvak Empire's intentions. Earth's intelligence had intercepted a series of encrypted messages between Zarvak leaders. The messages spoke of an upcoming invasion, a full-scale attack on Earth. The Zarvak believed they could conquer Earth easily. After all, humanity had only just begun to explore space. They had no real defense against the powerful Zarvak fleet, but they had underestimated humans. Sam knew Earth wasn't ready to defend itself, not yet. But he also knew that humans were capable of the impossible when pushed to the edge. Sam was here not just to survive the invasion, but to make sure Earth didn't fall. Sam's thoughts were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. The door slid open, and the tall Zarvak officer from earlier stepped back into the room. Flanked by two other soldiers, they had no weapons in hand, but Sam knew that didn't matter. The Zarvak were capable of causing harm in ways that didn't require physical force. They had technology far beyond anything humanity had developed. But Sam didn't fear their tech. He knew something they didn't. Humans had something far more. Powerful ingenuity and determination. The officer glared down at Sam, his yellow eyes shining with contempt. "Still so quiet, human? Do you truly think we are? Scared of you? You can't stop the inevitable. Zarvak Empire will crush your planet." Sam remained silent, his eyes meeting the officer's with calm confidence. He wasn't here to argue or try to convince the Zarvak of anything. The mission was bigger than that. The officer paced in front of him, his boots clicking sharply against the floor. "Do you even know what you're up against? The Zarvak fleet is already on its way to Earth. Your planet won't survive a single strike from our ships." Sam's mind raced. He had already suspected the fleet's arrival, but now it was confirmed. The Zarvak were preparing for a full-scale attack, and they were confident they could win. The officer was right in one way. Earth wasn't prepared for this kind of war. But Sam knew the truth. Humans had something the Zarvak never expected. "We've been studying you," the officer continued, his voice growing colder. "Your species is weak. You've only recently learned to fight among the stars. You have no chance against us." Sam didn't respond. He didn't need to. He had learned what he needed to know. The Zarvak were overconfident, and that would be their downfall. They thought they understood humanity, but they didn't. They didn't understand the resourcefulness, the creativity, the drive that humans had when pushed to the edge. Sam wasn't just part of Earth's military. He was part of a new program, A secret initiative created to give humanity an advantage in situations like this. The officer finally stopped pacing, standing directly in front of Sam. "Do you have anything to say for yourself, human?" he asked. His voice low and menacing. Sam lifted his chin, meeting the officer's gaze once again. "You don't understand," he said softly. "We'll see soon enough." The officer scoffed. "See? What will you do? What do you think you can do alone?" Sam's lips twitched into a faint smile. "I'm not alone." The officer's expression darkened, his fists clenching at his sides. "What does that mean?" he demanded. "You're just one human. You don't even have any weapons." Sam leaned forward slightly. "I don't need weapons to defeat you." The officer looked taken aback, as if he wasn't sure whether Sam was serious or just trying to make a last-ditch effort to seem brave. But Sam wasn't lying. Zarvok didn't understand what was really happening here. They had technology, they had strength, but they lacked something that humanity had in abundance: cunning. Sam knew about the weapon hidden beneath the city of Zarvok. It was a powerful force, a weapon that could change the tide of battle. But it wasn't just any weapon. It was something that combined Earth's most advanced technology with the stolen technology of the Zarvok themselves. Sam didn't know all the details, but he knew enough. He had been briefed before he came to Zarvok. His mission was clear: find the weapon, activate it, and use it to send a signal to Earth's military. Signal that would call for help. A signal that would turn the tide in humanity's favor. The officer looked at Sam for a long moment, his anger still simmering. Finally, he turned and nodded to the two soldiers beside him. They stepped forward, grabbing Sam by the arms and pulling him to his feet. "Enough talking," the officer said coldly. "It's time for you to see the truth. Maybe when you understand your place in this empire, you'll stop your foolish attempts." Sam was led out of the interrogation room and down another hallway. He kept his eyes open, memorizing every turn, every detail of the building. He didn't know how long he had before things would get out of hand, but he knew the time to act was coming soon. The Zarvok officer's words echoed in his mind. "You're just one human." They had no idea what they were up against. Sam wasn't alone. Humanity wasn't alone. Soon, the Zarvok would learn the hard way that underestimating humans was a mistake they would never live to regret. The cold metal walls of the underground facility echoed with the sound of Sam's boots as he followed the Zarvok officer down the narrow corridor. The officer had not spoken a word since the interrogation, his silence heavy with the unspoken threat of what would come next. Sam remained calm, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings, memorizing every detail of the facility as they walked deeper into the heart of the building. Sam knew he had to act fast. He had been briefed about the hidden weapon beneath Zarvok City, a weapon so powerful that it could change the course of any battle. The Zarvok had built it in secret, using technology that was far beyond what humanity had ever seen. But Sam wasn't intimidated. He knew that if he could get to the weapon, it could be the key to turning the tables on the Zarvok Empire. The officer led Sam through a door at the end of the hallway, into a large, dimly lit room. Sam's eyes immediately locked onto the massive structure in the center. It looked like a giant metal spider with intricate pipes and glowing energy conduits crisscrossing its body. The weapon. Sam's heart raced as he realized this was the very thing he had come for. The officer stepped aside, allowing Sam to approach. "This is it," the officer said, his voice cold and dismissive. "This is the power of the Zarvok Empire. We will use it to wipe out your kind, starting with your precious Earth." Sam didn't respond. He had seen enough. He had to get closer to the core where the weapons control systems were located. He needed to understand how it worked. How to turn it on, and most importantly, how to use it to send a signal to Earth's fleet. If he could activate it, he could send a powerful transmission across the galaxy, a call for help. A call that would reach every human soldier in the galaxy, signaling the beginning of the end for the Zerv. Okay, as the officer moved to the far side of the room, Ham's eyes darted over the control panel near the base of the weapon. It was covered in glowing symbols, some of which he recognized from Earth's brief encounters with alien technology. He knew he had to be quick. One wrong move, and the Zarvok could stop him before he could even get started. The officer turned back to face Sam, a cruel smile forming on his face. "You're wondering what you could possibly do against this, aren't you? Your humans have no chance. You can try to touch it, but you'll never understand how it works." Sam's eyes remained fixed on the control panel, ignoring the officer's taunts. He had no intention of explaining himself. There's no need for words now. His mission was all that mattered. He stepped forward, reaching out to the panel. As his fingers brushed against the cold surface, a soft hum filled the air. The energy conduits on the weapon flickered, and for a brief moment, Sam felt the pulse of power beneath his fingertips. It was working. The systems were coming online. The officer's eyes widened, and he took a step forward. "What are you doing?" he demanded, his voice rising in alarm. "You have no idea how to operate it." "You can't." Before the officer could finish his sentence, Sam activated a hidden switch on the panel. The hum grew louder, and the weapon's core began to glow. The entire room seemed to vibrate with energy. Sam quickly stepped back, watching. As the weapon's massive frame began to shift and move, the long metal arms retracted, and the energy conduit spun around, unlocking the core. Sam's mind raced. The weapon was coming to life. The officer stood frozen, his face a mixture of shock and disbelief. He took a step back, unsure of what was happening. Sam, however, didn't take his eyes off the weapon. He knew he didn't have much time before the Zarvok would try to stop him. "Stop," the officer shouted, rushing toward Sam. But Sam was already ahead of him. With a quick glance, he saw that the energy conduits near the core were connected to a series of transmission relays. He could use them to send a message. Without hesitation, Sam reached for the last control lever, pulling it down with a firm motion. The entire facility shook as the weapon powered up, the glowing lights flickering across the walls. A loud, deafening noise filled the room as the weapon's core hummed to life, the energy pulse beginning to build. Sam could feel the power surging. Beneath his feet, the officer lunged toward him, but Sam was already a step ahead. He pressed a series of buttons, his hands moving with the precision of someone who had studied the technology. Even if he didn't fully understand it, the weapon systems responded to his touch, and in that moment, Sam knew he had done it. He had activated the transmission. The room fell silent. The officer stood there, his face pale as he watched the weapon come to life, and then the transmission had gone through. Sam's signal was now reaching Earth's fleet. It was done. Sam stepped back, taking a deep breath. He had done what he came to do. The weapon was no longer a threat to Earth. In fact, it would be the key to humanity's victory. The signal he had just sent would call every fleet, every human soldier, and every ally to Earth's defense. The Zarvok would soon learn that humans were not as weak as they thought. The officer stood in stunned silence, his mind clearly struggling to comprehend what had just happened. You activated it," he whispered, "but you can't. How?" Sam looked him straight in the eyes, his voice calm and steady. "You underestimated us," he said. "That's your mistake." Before the officer could respond, the door to the room opened with a sharp hiss, and more Zarvok soldiers rushed in, but it was too late. The signal had already gone out, and Sam had done what he needed to do. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The moment Sam activated the weapon and sent the signal, everything seemed to shift. The room shook as the power surged through the facility, and Sam could feel the tension rising. He had completed his mission, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Zarvok Empire, once so confident in their dominance, would now have to face the consequences of underestimating humanity. The officer who had once mocked him stood frozen, staring at the weapon as it hummed with energy. His expression shifted from anger to fear. You've activated it," he whispered, his voice trembling. "How could you?" Sam didn't respond. He didn't need to. The truth was clear. The Zarvok had always thought they were untouchable, but Sam had just given humanity the one thing it needed, a fighting chance. "Get him," the officer shouted suddenly, snapping back to his senses. His voice cracked through the room. His soldiers rushed forward to subdue Sam, but Sam was already moving. With quick, practiced movements, Sam ducked and rolled. avoiding the soldier's grasp. His heart was pounding in his chest, but his mind was clear. The weapon was already doing its job. It was transmitting the signal to Earth. But that didn't mean the battle was over. Far from it. The Zarvok might not have been able to stop him yet, but they would try. And Sam needed to act fast before they could regroup. The soldiers lunged at him again, but this time Sam was ready. He knew the layout of the room. He used the walls too, his advantage, pushing off of them to dodge the incoming attacks. His training kicked in as he moved with precision, staying one step ahead of the alien soldiers. The officer barked orders in his native language. But Sam didn't need to understand the words to know what was happening. The Zarvok were calling. For backup, more soldiers were coming. Sam's thoughts raced. He had to escape, and he had to do it now. The signal was out, but it wouldn't take long for the Zarvok to realize what had happened and mount a counterattack. His only chance was to reach the surface, get to a ship, and make contact with Earth's fleet. But that meant getting past the reinforcements that were coming. As Sam fought, he noticed something that gave him hope. The weapon, still active, was pulsing with energy. The signal had gone out, and it wasn't just any signal, it was a call for help. Sam knew that Earth's fleet would respond, and quickly. He could only pray that the message reached the right people in time. Sam ducked as one of the soldiers swung at him, narrowly avoiding the blow. He grabbed the soldier's arm and twisted it, disarming him in one swift motion. The soldier fell to the ground, but Sam didn't stop to look. He knew there was no time to waste. He bolted toward the exit, his heart racing with each step. The door slid open in front of him, and Sam pushed through, only to find more Zarvok soldiers waiting. Outside, they were ready for him. But Sam wasn't about to back down now. He reached for a nearby control panel, his fingers flying over the buttons. A quick burst of energy shot from the panel, knocking the soldiers back and creating an opening. Sam took it, rushing forward into the narrow hallway beyond. He had to keep moving, keep ahead of the enemy, as he sprinted through the facility. Sam couldn't help but think about Earth. The people there had no idea what was happening. They didn't know how close they were to losing everything. But Sam had done his part. He had sent the message. And now, it was up to them to answer the call. He reached the outer doors of the building, and just as he was about to step into the open air, he felt a sharp pain in his side. One of the Zarvok soldiers had fired a weapon, and the blast had hit him. Sam stumbled, but didn't fall. The pain was intense, but he pushed through it. Knowing he couldn't afford to stop now, he continued running, the pain in his side growing. Worse with every step. The building's outer walls were in sight, and Sam could see the open space beyond. Just needed to get to a ship. If he could get to a ship, he could escape and make contact with Earth's fleet as he neared the outer walls. He saw a ship in the distance, one of the Zarvok's transports. It wasn't the ship he had hoped for, but it would have to do. He adjusted his course, moving toward it with all the strength he could muster. Every step felt heavier than the last, but Sam didn't slow down. He couldn't. There was too much at stake. Just as he reached the transport, he heard footsteps behind him. The Zarvok soldiers had caught up. Sam gritted his teeth and pushed himself up the ship's landing ramp. He had no idea how much longer he could hold on. But he couldn't let them stop him now. Inside the ship, he quickly accessed the controls, his fingers shaking as he worked. He didn't know exactly how to fly it, but he didn't have time to figure it out. All he needed was to get off the planet and into space. He punched a series of buttons, and the ship's engines roared to life. Ship took off, lifting off the ground and speeding into the sky. Sam's breath came in ragged gasps, the pain from his injury making it hard to think. But he focused on the task at hand. The signal had gone out. Earth's fleet would come. And when they did, the Zarvok would finally know what it meant to underestimate humanity. The ship soared higher, breaking through the atmosphere. Sam didn't look back. He knew the battle had just begun, but he also knew one thing for sure. Humanity had a chance. They weren't helpless. Would learn that. The hum of the ship's engines filled the air as Sam Carter sat in the cockpit, his hands gripping the controls tightly. His side ached with every breath he took, but he forced himself to stay focused. The Zarvok transport ship was flying fast, moving further and further from Zarvok's surface. As the planet grew smaller behind him, Sam knew he had done all he could. The signal was sent, Earth's fleet had been alerted, and now it was only a matter of time before the Zarvok would feel the weight of humanity's response. The pain from his wound was sharp, but Sam ignored it. The mission was too important. He had to make it to Earth to warn them, to buy them enough time to prepare for what was coming. The Zarvok would not stop. It would fight with everything they had. But Sam was confident now. The weapon he had activated had been the turning point. The humans were no longer the underdogs. Earth had the resources, the technology, and the willpower to stand up to the Zarvok Empire. Sam's mind raced as he looked out the window of the transport ship. Watching the stars twinkle in the distance, he thought of his home, of the people he had left behind, the peaceful life they had all taken for granted. But things had changed now. The war was coming to Earth, and Sam knew that humanity's future would depend on the strength of their will. His hands moved quickly over the control panel. He wasn't sure how to fly the Zarvok ship, but he didn't need to know everything, just needed to get out of the atmosphere and into space. And with Earth's fleet on the way, he had to get there before the Zarvok could strike. Suddenly, a loud beep echoed through the cockpit, followed by a flashing red light. Sam's eyes widened. It was a warning. His ship had been detected. He looked at the screen and his heart skipped a beat. A Zarvok patrol fleet was approaching fast. The enemy had found him. Sam cursed under his breath. Patrol ships were armed and they wouldn't hesitate to destroy a lone transport vessel. He needed to think quickly. His mind went into overdrive as he scanned the controls for any way to avoid the oncoming threat. The patrol ships were still a few minutes away, but if they locked onto him now, he wouldn't stand a chance. Sam wasn't a pilot, but he had flown many different kinds of ships during his training. He had to trust his instincts. Gripping the controls, he made a sharp turn, heading toward the asteroid field nearby. The sharp rocks and debris would provide some cover. It was risky, but Sam had no other choice. He pushed the throttle forward, the ship's engines roaring as it sped toward the field. The stars blurred around him as he entered the asteroid field, weaving between the floating rocks with incredible speed. Behind him, the Zarvok patrol ships followed. They were fast, but they weren't used to navigating the asteroid field. Sam could hear the crackling of their weapon systems over the communication line. They were getting ready to fire. Sam's heart pounded in his chest as he weaved through the asteroids, narrowly avoiding the massive rocks that loomed in his path. He was pushing the ship to its limits, his hands shaking with the effort. He could feel the strain on the ship's structure, but he refused to slow down. If he slowed, he'd be caught. The roar of the enemy ships grew louder as they closed in. Sam's mind raced for a plan. He had to buy more time. He couldn't outrun them. Forever. His eyes darted over the control panel again, and he saw a small switch. It was labeled EMP. He had no idea what it did, but there was no time to think. He flipped the switch. The ship shuddered, and for a brief moment everything went dark. The instruments flickered, the engines quieted, and the ship seemed to stop. In mid-air, the enemy ships, momentarily confused, slowed down. Sam knew this was his chance. The EMP had disabled the enemy ship's systems. For a few seconds, they were flying blind. That was all Sam needed. He pushed the throttle forward again, speeding away from the enemy ships as they struggled to regain control. Sam didn't look back. He kept his eyes fixed on the asteroid field. Ahead, knowing that the patrol ships wouldn't be able to follow him for long, the EMP had given him a precious few seconds. But that was all it would take to escape. He kept weaving through the field, hoping the confusion would give him enough time to get far enough away. He could hear the sound of the Zarvok ships in the distance, but they were too far to hit him now. He pushed the ship forward with everything he had, the stars blurring around him. Minutes passed and Sam's breathing steadied. The radar screen showed no signs of pursuit. He had done it. He had escaped. But he couldn't stop now. Earth was still far away, and he had to make sure he didn't lead the enemy straight to them. He needed to lose the Zarvok for good. With a deep breath, Sam punched in the coordinates for a nearby jump point. It was a risky move, but if he could use it to jump into deep space, he could throw off any pursuit. He activated the jump drive, and the ship's engines hummed as they powered up. The stars in front of him began to twist and distort as the jump point opened. In an instant, the ship shot forward, hurtling through the fabric of space. The stars outside the ship became streaks of light, and Sam felt his body pushed back into the seat as the jump drive activated. As the ship emerged from the jump, Sam checked his instruments. The Zarvok ships had not followed. He'd lost them. Sam let out a relieved sigh, but he knew the fight wasn't over. Signal had been sent, and now the battle for Earth had begun. The Zarvok would regroup, they would strike, and the war would reach Earth's doorstep. But Sam had done his part. Now it was up to Earth's fleet to respond. The battle was only just beginning. But Sam knew one thing for certain. Humanity wasn't going to go down without a fight. Sam sat in the cockpit of the Zarvok transport, his body aching from the wounds he had sustained, but his mind was sharp. The stars outside the window stretched out into the endless void, and his heart was still pounding from the close call with the Zarvok patrol ships. But he had done it. He had escaped. Earth's fleet had been alerted, and now it was only a matter of time before the Zarvok came face to face with humanity's response. Sam's mission wasn't over. He was on his way to a safe location, a rendezvous point where Earth's fleet would meet him. He had no idea how long it would take for the fleet to reach his position, but he knew the danger was far from over. The Zarvok would stop at nothing to crush humanity. The Earth wasn't ready for the full force of their attack. His fingers hovered over the ship's controls. And for a brief moment, Sam allowed himself to reflect on everything that had happened. He thought of the moment when the Zarvok laughed at him, when they believed humans were nothing more than weak and insignificant. He thought of the weapon he had activated, sending the signal that had started this chain of events. And now, here he was, on the edge of space. With Earth's fate hanging in the balance, the quiet hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the cockpit. Sam had grown used to the isolation, but even now, as the minutes ticked by, he could feel the weight of everything pressing down on him. He had no idea how Earth's military would react. But he knew one thing for sure. The Zarvok were not going to give up easily. Suddenly, the ship's radar beeped, breaking Sam from his thoughts. Eyes darted to the screen and his heart skipped. A beat, it was a signature he recognized, a Zarvok warship. They had found him. Sam cursed under his breath. The warship was approaching fast, and there was no way to outrun it. He had been hoping for a moment of peace, but it seemed that the Zarvok weren't going to let him rest. He scanned the control panel and saw the coordinates for the nearest jump point. If he could make it to the jump point, he could escape once. Again. But there was no guarantee the warship wouldn't follow. It was a risk, but Sam had no choice. With a deep breath, Sam activated the jump drive. The ship's engines roared to life, and the stars outside the window began to stretch as the ship accelerated toward the jump point. His hands gripped the controls tightly, knowing that this jump would be critical. If the Zarvok followed, he would have no way to escape. The jump point was close. Sam could see the swirling vortex of energy forming ahead of him. His pulse quickened as he guided the ship toward it. The warship was gaining on him, and he could hear the warning signals blaring in the cockpit. "Come on," Sam muttered to himself, pushing the ship faster. The jump point was just ahead, and he could feel the tension building in the air. Then, with a sudden lurch, the ship plunged into the jump point, and the stars outside blurred into streaks of light. Tss! Sam felt a wave of pressure as the ship passed through the warp, and for a moment, everything went silent. The ship emerged from the jump, and Sam quickly checked the radar. The Zarvok warship was nowhere to be found. He had made it. For now, he was safe, but the danger wasn't over. Sam knew that the Zarvok would be hunting for him, and Earth's fleet wasn't here yet. He had to keep moving, keep putting distance between him and the enemy. He wanted was to lead the Zarvok straight to Earth. Sam navigated through deep space, using the stars as his guide. He had no idea how long it would take for Earth's fleet to reach him, but he knew that every minute counted. He could only hope that the signal he had sent would be enough to give humanity a fighting chance. As the hours passed, Sam remained focused. He knew that Earth's military leaders would be preparing for the worst. The Zarvok were powerful, and their fleet was vast. But Sam also knew that humans had something the Zarvok didn't: a fierce determination to protect their home. The Zarvok could never understand the strength that came from the will to survive, and that would be their downfall. Sam's thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. His radar had picked up a new signature. This one was different, human. Sam quickly checked the coordinates. Earth's fleet was finally here. A wave of relief washed over Sam, but there was no time to relax. The battle was about to begin, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Sam knew that Earth's forces weren't as powerful as the Zarvok, but they had one thing that the Zarvok didn't: unity. The humans would fight together with everything they had. Sam opened the communication channel, his voice calm but firm as he transmitted a message to the fleet. "This is Private Sam Carter, Reporting, in. The Zarvok Empire is on its way. We don't have much time." Pause for a moment, collecting his thoughts before continuing. "I've sent the signal. The weapon is activated. The fleet is coming, but we need to be ready. We can't let them win. Not now." There was a brief silence on the other end before a voice came through the static. "We hear you, Private. We're ready. Earth won't fall today." Sam's heart lifted. He had done it. But he had given humanity the chance to fight back. Now it was up to Earth's fleet to turn the tide. The Zarvok would not conquer Earth. Not while there was life. Not while there was hope. The first of the human ships arrived in the distance, joining Sam's transport. Sam could see the familiar insignia of Earth's military on the ships. Hull and a sense of pride filled him. The battle was about to begin, and he knew that humanity was ready.